Email us at kaieteurradioads@gmail.com. You can even visit our office at 24 Saffron Street, Charlestown, Georgetown. Kaieteur Radio, covering you from coast to coast.
This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's newscast on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. In January of 2020, ExxonMobil announced its 16th discovery, Uaru-1, in the Stabroek Block. In April last year, the company announced another oil find, this time its 19th, dubbed Uaru-2, in the Stabroek Block. ExxonMobil said that the well is located approximately 6.8 miles south of the Uaru-1 well. The two separate announcements or discoveries are, however, being pursued through one application process as one project under the guise of Uaru Plus, as was announced by ExxonMobil Guyana President Alistair Routledge as the final investment decision for its fourth project, the Yellowtail development, which was declared last week. In fact, we were told by Exxon's public relations officer, Janelle Prasad, that the Uaru Plus project is also seeking to develop other discoveries in the Stabroek Block that are within close proximity to the Uaru discoveries. And moving on, the EPA recently disclosed that it is utilizing satellite data from NASA to keep track of flaring offshore by ESSO. According to the World Bank, flaring entails the burning of natural gas associated with oil extraction. The practice, which releases over 200 toxic chemicals into the atmosphere, has persisted from the beginning of oil production, over 160 years ago. It takes place due to a range of issues, from market and economic constraints to a lack of appropriate regulation and political will. Given the environmental dangers associated with flaring, Joel Gravesend, who serves as the head of the EPA's Oil and Gas Department, has said that flaring is one of the key issues his agency pays attention to. Hence, it has been unceasing in its effort to build oversight capacity. And in other news, the limited capacity of Guyanese regulatory bodies to exercise oversight of the offshore oil operations, coupled with breakneck pace of seismic surveys taking place in the Guyana Basin, stands the chance to imperil the entire Caribbean region. This is according to a group of environmentalists in a recent letter to the Barbados Prime Minister, Mia Mottley. The group told the Prime Minister that her relationship with the current political administration in Guyana has given them hope, thus their writing. Importantly, they highlighted that even a small oil spill that occurs in Guyana can ruin the Caribbean Sea and threaten the livelihoods of fishers as well as the tourism industries, in addition to damages to marine life.
An independent report coming out of the Institute for Energy, Economics and Financial Analysis has concluded that Guyana may never see the promised annual revenues from its oil sector, as the one-sided oil contract gives ExxonMobil and its partners the benefit, leaving Guyana and its people out of their fair share of the wealth. The report by the body details that Guyana's failure to implement a ring-fence provision has provided Exxon an opportunity to reduce the country's share of profits. According to the document, among the contract's weak provisions, Guyana never imposed a ring fence, which means that the oil companies can charge the government for costs incurred for new development and pay for it out of the revenues from Liza Phase 1, an oil field that commenced production since 2019. A strong ring-fence provision would have allowed ExxonMobil to charge only costs related to Liza Phase 1 against revenues received from oil from that field. In other news, 7 years after Guyana first announced oil finds offshore, none of its governments have been able to build the capacity to properly police the country's resources. One would assume that after 7 years, the government would earnestly seek to have measures in place to ensure available resources for auditing huge multi-billion-dollar expenses that this country must repay for the development of the sector. However, these measures are not in place, and some stakeholders continue to call for these lapses and a lack of urgency to save Guyana large sums of much-needed revenues to be seen as acts tantamount to criminal behavior. Economic and Youth Policy Advisor at the Office of the Leader of the Opposition, Elson Lowe, said that he believes that failure to financially safeguard the country in this capital-driven oil and gas sector should be a criminal offense. He explained that currently, Guyana is pinned to audit oil expenses within a 2-year time frame stipulated in the production sharing agreement that was signed with oil companies. Already, the time frame to audit the almost $10 billion Liza 1 and 2 projects have lapsed, and the same could happen to the $9 billion Payara project if it is not audited by mid-year. And moving on, almost 3 months after the devastating oil spill in Peru that resulted in approximately 12,000 barrels of oil being spilled and contaminating their shores and waters, the country's Minister of Environment, Modesto Montoya, recently stated that the oil company responsible for the disaster must be honest and take care of the affected people, especially the fishermen. In fact, the Peruvian government has ordered Spanish oil giant Repsol to pay an additional $700 compensation to those who are affected by the spill. According to a Peruvian media report, Minister Montoya has indicated that this measure is a result of the efforts made by the government to meet the demands of the affected population. And now let's tell you, a driver was killed on Sunday morning after he crashed a minibus owned by the Anay Central Village Council into a tree along the Bina Hill public road located in North Rupununi, Latham. Dead is 48-year-old Lennox George of Anay Village. According to police, the accident took place around 3 hours 45, and there were two passengers in the bus at the time. They were identified as 20-year-old Juliana Williams and her 6-year-old Julia Williams. Both of them had sustained injuries and are presently admitted as patients at Anay Health Center. Investigators learned that George was reportedly speeding west along the road when the bus fell into a pothole. He lost control of the vehicle and it slammed into a tree beside the road.
And that brings us to the end of this evening's newscast. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Guyana, join me on the Glenn Lal Show every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and